call to order Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting virtual December 16th, 2020. If we could all stand for the pledge if you can. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, and liberty,
and justice for all.
justice for all.
Mr. Garver, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins,
Here.
Mr. Mahoney,
Here.
Mr. Fritz,
Here.
Mr. Helm,
Here.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Garvick here, Mr. Angler.
Here. Thank you. Next, we move on to the approval of agenda. If there's nothing more to add, I will entertain a motion this time.
So moved.
Second.
Support.
Second.
All right, I have support from Mr. Fritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the November 18th meeting. I will entertain a motion this time for anyone that was here for that meeting.
So moved.
Support. Is that Mr. Helm that was supported that?
That was me.
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Thank you, Rick. Any opposed besides Rick? None. Next, we move on to public comment. We'll limit this to 3 minutes. This will be for anybody that would like to speak on anything tonight. Thank you, George.
Karen, you could probably announce the next meeting date.
This is the only meeting we're going to have in December. We split the two meetings, so we will not be meeting next week. And the next meeting date is January 13th. We do not yet have a member to replace Dennis. This is his last meeting. And Mr. Fritz was reappointed.
Thank you. We will move on to the next item, which is new business. We have a 5-year review of the 2015 master plan and map and discussion to follow. Karen, can you give us some background?
Yes, I'm just going to read the memo that was provided to you. It's a short description of what we're going to be considering this evening. As we have mentioned at previous Planning Commission meetings, the master plan that was adopted in October 2015 is now at its 5-year review period. In accordance with Section 45(2) of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, and that's Act 33 of 2008, the Planning Commission is required to review the township's master plan every 5 years to determine whether to maintain the plan as it exists, proceed forward to amend the plan, or adopt a new one. The Planning Commission shall review the plan's goals, objectives, strategies, and the future land use map to determine if they are still relevant. It must then be determined if the plan shall be subject to the further action. Based on the answers to the above questions, the Planning Commission can make one of the following decisions. No changes have occurred, or the plan is fine, and therefore the plan may stand as adopted. Some amendments are desired because of new information and changes, therefore the plan should be amended. There are substantial changes in the community, and therefore the plan should be updated. On November 17th, 2020, the Township Board approved the new Ag 2 agricultural zoning district that is identified as secondary agricultural / rural residential. within the master plan and on the future land use map. This was a movement to bring the township into compliance with the vision of the October 28th, 2015 master plan, while providing a buffer area between the high-density residential districts to the south and the more rural agricultural areas, land use to the north. A copy of the master plan in its entirety is included within this packet for your reference. Should you have any questions, please feel free to make contact.
Thank you, Karen. All right, we'll open up the floor to any discussion. Yes, Dennis?
Yeah, a big part of the development of the master plan includes the inclusion of the current census information. And I emailed Karen today to see if she knew when that was going to be, and it won't be until after March 31st of 2021. So at this point, I would suggest just leaving the plan the way it is. First option, Karen. And then having a budget put together, discussion with Trudy and supervisor, decide whether you want to bid it out to different planning agent companies or continue with Manick & Smith. But I have several things that are not major that I'll forward on to Karen so that after the beginning of the new fiscal year in July, you should be set to go. So, but I don't see any major changes to the plan. If you all agree.
Thank you, Dennis. Yes, Pat Mahoney?
I was just wondering if it might make sense to add the list of township assets that Nancy had marked in that separate document. Maybe it's current value, replacement costs, that sort of thing. Does it make sense to add that to the master plan?
Are you talking more of the capital plan?
Yeah, capital improvements plan. I would keep that a separate document because you update that actually every year, and you don't. Oh, Joe, you don't. You don't want to have to open up the master plan at the same time you do capital improvements plan. So I would adopt the capital improvements plan as a totally separate document, but in conjunction with the master plan.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you have a question?
Who'd you say, Matt?
Rick, sorry.
So another thing too, as Karen had pointed out, as it stands right now, there has not been any money allocated to spend for a new master plan review and update. I think Karen, I think it was actually in your email, said around 50,000 budgeted before.
Between 30, it started off at 30, and I know there was some increase, but I don't know exactly. So I would suspect it would definitely not go over that, but it may start off at around 30,000.
And again, depending on what we really need to tweak, since the last update was pretty strong, and if as Dennis, I mean, being the biggest expert, saying that he sees minor adjustments, it might even be less than that number. But of course, as you said, we'll have to take that to the township board and discuss those numbers, see what we can get that possibly into the 21-22 budget. So I know, Karen, you'll have some crunch numbers there. And when I say crunch, I mean not putting them together. I'm talking crunch time based on, I think that thing's called retirement date. If it's allowed, I think the planning commission might have to vote on that. If you can retire.
I'm sure they're ready for me to go.
But no, all kidding aside there, yeah, we need to definitely get some numbers to the township board and we can discuss it further there. Again, as everybody I know that's been following the township board and our state shared revenues, We at first thought we were going to take a huge hit this year because of the COVID funding. When it came through, well, it actually came through with the full amount, and we were covered. Going into the next fiscal year, we don't know where that's going to be. So I would say if we're going to do it and present numbers, try to be as conservative as possible. And I think even though Manick and Smith has been our engineers and been in this before with us, based on the township requirements, I think it would still have to be bid out because it's not just a continuation. It would be a brand new project. So we would have to bid that out to multiple companies just to make sure that we have the lowest bids or the appropriate bids.
Thank you, Rick.
That's all.
So, are we looking for a motion to recommend no changes or one of these three options that you basically showed out, Karen, or what exactly are we voting on tonight, or?
We're looking for a motion on one of those three options. This will not go to the township board. The township board, well, I shouldn't say it will not. The township board elected when we adopted the 2015 master plan to not take action, and they left it up to the planning commission. So I don't know with us, meaning the planning commission making a determination at this time, whatever that might be, if it should be sent to the township board for their approval, or if it would be satisfied to just have the planning commission make a decision on what their decision desire is at this time.
And
I have
actually,
a question.
oh, go ahead, Ron.
I can't see when nobody's talking, but that first choice, it's saying no changes have occurred. But the one change that had occurred was the one we just did last time with the Ag 2. Has that been incorporated into the master plan yet?
Yes, the master plan actually identified that as a new zoning district, and we have accomplished that by moving forward and adopting the Ag 2 zoning district. So we are moving in the direction that was the vision of the master plan in 2015 when it was adopted. So we are moving in that direction. It's not anything that, we haven't done anything that that is opposed by the master plan. We've had some development in the Secor Stearns area. They do identify the area that was recently developed or is under construction right now as a mixed use. We have provided a mixed use. It may not be described in the master plan, but we have moved into that mixed use area where we do have the commercial to the west, multiple family, then moving east, and then two family, and then on to the single family. So it is a mixed use on that particular piece of property. Other than that, I don't know that we have done anything that has been contrary to what the master plan has designated.
So bullet one would be a true statement saying no changes have occurred in the plan. It's fine. Therefore, it may stand as adopted. That's correct, right, Karen?
That's correct. And I'm not saying that there aren't some, excuse me, I'm sorry. There may be some areas that, as Dennis mentioned, there may be some minor changes that we could look at next year once we do have money budgeted for detailed review.
So that would for this year, correct?
Right.
Okay. I was leery of making it a no change for 5 years if there needed to be some things that needed to be changed, but if it's only a year, that's.
Yeah, the plan's a 5-year plan that you're supposed to review it every 5 years, but it doesn't mean that if you've got the money and you've got things happening, you could review it and change it every year if you wanted to. But it's just the requirement that we do the every 5. So
Minimum of every 5, yeah.
yeah, so I think it is probably good where it stands, because we don't have any changes right now, but that does not prohibit us from moving forward.
I agree with that then. That's.
So did Ron just make the motion?
I will entertain a
Ron
motion.
can make the motion. I can make the motion if everybody, I didn't know if people were gonna jump in and ask more questions.
Doesn't look like there are any more questions at this time.
So
Go ahead, Ron.
I'll make the motion that we take the first bullet point. No changes have occurred, or the plan is fine and therefore may stand as adopted.
Support.
And I don't know what else you got to put in there.
I think that sounds good. So I have support from Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Garvey, could you take a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Helm,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Garvix, aye. Mr. Anger,
Aye.
Mr. Fritz,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Aye.
All right. Motion passed. Next, we move on to public comment. We will give a few seconds for anyone that would like to call in based on anything tonight or in general.
If, Mr. Chair, if you would like, while we are waiting on the information, again, I mentioned that the next meeting is on January 13th. We will have a meeting that evening. We have a public hearing scheduled, so we will be meeting on that date. We have nothing for the 27th of January at this time. We have a couple of items that are nearly prepared to go before the Planning Commission, and if they don't meet that, it will be another public hearing. So if they don't meet that January 13th meeting, we will be holding a meeting more than likely on the 27th of January as well.
Thank you.
Hey, Karen or Matt, has anybody talked about when we might be coming back in the building, or is that just still up in the air with as high as COVID is?
Do you want me to take that one?
Sure.
So Joe, that's one of the big discussions at the township board level. Right now, it's sort of still waiting out to see if and when the governor makes any more adjustments to the stay-at-home orders.
Okay.
I have seen some documentation out there that says that the orders can be continued through March. But again, I think my feeling is I think we'll see something again probably by maybe even next week, because we had this 3-week interim that they were doing. So I think it ends on the 20th. So I would be willing to bet you'll see something come out next week again, whether they're going to try to continue or to relax. So we're sort of in limbo right now until we really find out what the governor says. Now, another thing from the township board meeting last night, we currently have a person at the front door at Township Hall that's doing the monitoring and temperature taking. But that person is being paid by COVID funds that we have received. Those funds all have to be spent by the end of this year, or they just go back. So we're doing that, and since we don't want to take money out of the general fund to pay an additional employee at this time, we're investigating some some freestanding temperature units where someone would be able to walk into the front door. They go up in front of it. It's like a camera, takes their picture and takes their temperature, and then they would be able to come into the building as long as they didn't have the high temperature. So that's under review right now. So I would say I would be willing to bet unfortunately we're not going to be back probably for my guess is at least a month or two. I know that my company alone, I mean, I'm sure they're dealing with some of the real higher up politicians in Michigan. And weeks ago that I won't go back to the office until at least April 15th.
Wow.
So I am starting to go nuts because that'll be 13 months. So,
Wow.
The good news in the hospital, we have started to see a good decline at where I work, so that's nice.
That's good news.
yeah, you just hear ups and downs. One area's got them going up, the other one's going down. So I guess, I mean, the governor even has in the order that it's supposed to be based on just that, you know, hospitalizations. Well, you probably know better than I do, Matt. How was it? Hospitalizations, death rate. There was like 3 different criteria. I think it was actual positive cases, hospitalizations, and death rates. I think that's what it was. So with a vaccine out there, let's hope they all start heading in the right direction.
We started vaccinating, I think it was this week.
Yep.
All right, George, no one in the lobby? With that, we can move on to any commission or staff comment. Seeing that we have none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at this time. Oh, Karen, go ahead.
I'm sorry, can I say one thing? I didn't know who was going to start. I just would like to welcome Rick as the Township Board Rep to the Planning Commission. Nancy was done and Rick is now going to be our Township Board Rep. And I would like to thank Dennis Jenkins for serving on the Planning Commission for the last 3+ years. He filled a vacancy, and I do appreciate him being here and offering his service.
Oh, thank you. I've enjoyed the last 3 years, sort of.
I would just like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. Stay healthy and safe, and have a happy and safe New Year. And I have already welcomed Rick and thank Dennis immensely for all his help.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Rick too, and just tonight how smooth it went, and the wealth of knowledge with Rick and Dennis. You're an unbelievable person, and wealth of knowledge at the township, and
Amen.
we gotta step our game up with Dennis going. I'm just gonna say that. That's me and everybody. So, thank you for everything you've done. It's just amazing. So
Thank you.
Yes, Rick.
Yeah, Matt, I didn't say anything earlier because I'm used to, everybody does a little different. I was used to the chair going around individually and ask each one. So if you guys do it differently, I'll know next time. But no, the comments right there, Dennis, I know you're humbled in your comments, but you have done so much with the township, and you have contributed so much and a very valuable asset. You've retired, you've come back, you've retired, you've come back again.
Like a bad penny, huh?
Now he's just tired.
Now your wife might, not that we're encouraging that, but I know you got to have some enjoyment in your retirement life. It's going to be tough. I know Karen twisted both my arms to come back to planning because I was on it for a number of years prior to being on the township board. And then I think it was my first term I served on planning commission. I thank you, Joe, for saying, me bringing a wealth of knowledge. I'll tell you what, being away from direct involvement, I mean, there's definitely going to be some refresher for me as well. But I'm sure it'll, I'll just pick right back up, pretty quick. It's as a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into planning, and I applaud every one of you for taking your time on this board. There's a lot of boards that people go in, they have a half-hour to hour meeting, and they're done. Well, you guys all have to be on this for many hours at a time, and sometimes extra meetings and a lot of individual work on your own. So again, I applaud you for that, and thank you. And last but not least, be safe. Do everything that you need to do for yourselves. I don't think some of these mandates should be as strong as they are, but it's not my call. My call is basically saying, do what you feel is right for yourself, protect your families. So everybody can have that Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And again, hopefully we get out of this soon and we can get some normalcy back to our lives. And I look forward to being back in the building with everybody. Can't wait.
Thank you, Rick.
Karen,
I like the idea of how you go to individual to get the comments, so we can actually change here too to do that. Mr. First, did I hear
Karen?
something?
Yes.
yeah, I just had a question for anybody that knows this answer. Are the flags flying half-staff because of the culvert?
I am not certain.
Township, oh,
I think they are. I read that in the paper. Ron, every time I hear you talk, I picture you in a basement someplace locked up in a room.
no, I'm out in my sunroom with no sun.
Oh, okay.
I was actually in the
on your
township.
side, though.
I was close thinking. I was going to say he sounded like he's in a fish tank.
I didn't see the flags half mast, but when I did today, I thought it was because of a township meeting last night, but I wasn't sure. I'm just saying.
Ooh, did it get tense?
All right, I would like to second everyone else's comments too about welcome to Rick and Dennis. I sent an email to you. We will be missing you, and your seat will be hard to fill. That is for sure.
Not that hard. And I was going to tell you guys, if you need to make a motion, all you have to do is read Karen and Jody's analysis, because the motion will be right there. If you're so inclined.
But you were so good at it, Dennis.
Exactly.
So how many years did you have, Dennis, total, if you count?
Just three.
Well, I'm talking, but between when you started, what year did you actually start with Bedford?
89. I actually started a couple years before that, but I became official in 89.
Okay, so you've been really involved for
1889?
over 30 years.
1889.
1989.
You're brutal, Ron. Karen, you've got what, 25 or 26?
Since 1996, so it'll be 25 years.
And Jody's what, 5? Boy, my memory's not, I must not be told yet. My memory's hanging in there.
So.
All right.
It's been fun.
It's been an interesting year, and I wouldn't trade it for any other group of people.
No.
Thank you.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
So
a motion.
moved.
Second.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dennis.